Breathe with me. 1, 2, 3. On the count of 3, breathe with me. 1, 2, 3. Bring attention to your feet. Thank them for what they've brought you from. Rejoice in what they're bringing you to. Breathe. Bring attention to your lower legs. Thank them for the waters they've carried you through. From puddles to big waters. Rejoice knowing they have the strength to take you through whatever comes next. Breathe.
All right, I'm going to pause it there. It's a lovely meditation for Black women. I thought it would be a great, intro. We don't have to play it all. We could, play around with that. But
I think we should share that, though. We can share that in the comments as well.
But yeah, meditation for Black women. I love this meditation because it's specifically for Black women. She calls on our ancestors, she calls on our mothers, our grandmothers. It's very deep. And I play it when I need to be grounded. And I think it's a great intro for today's topic.
I think so too. I really like that part about your feet, thank your feet for what they carried you away from. I think that's very poignant. In fact, for what we are actually, going to talk about in specific, I'm sure probably the whole meditation is relative as it is a meditation. And that is one of the, grand vices in mental health. But before we get started, I'm just going to go ahead and give ourselves a chance to introduce ourselves. And kind of state the purpose of today's conversation. First, let me say I am Saran Anderson. I am a licensed herbalist, and also I am trained to be a registered behavioral therapist, and I create products and workarounds for people who are, looking to take the natural route, but also want to do things with a mental health focus. So all of my products are mood boosting, as I believe that it is the body that keeps the score. And so it is up to us to heal emotionally as well as physically. And that's what I make products and align people with values like that.
Yes, and drop your business name.
Obviously, the Bright Blend, this is backwards, but it's the Bright Blend, and you can shop my products at thebrightblend.com. I do free product consultations as well, so you can schedule an appointment with me there.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. And thank you for just hosting this series for Women's Month as we concluded. We made it. We made it, but we're still in it. Okay. I appreciate that. And it just doesn't even have to be for Women's Month. This is just a really important topic. My name's Alexis Kurtz Hogar. Excuse the long name. Just call me Alexis. I also like to go by Alexis Abundant. I am the principal founder of Wake Them Up LLC. That is a consulting firm for movement work. I can help power your dream, also provide coaching, and you can contact me through social media and as well email if you want to look up some, schedule a consultation at WAKETHEMUP at LLC at gmail.com. That's a long ass email. I will leave it on the chat. All right, I'm working on it. All right, so I also
we'll keep all of that down there.
Yes, I also have a product line called Herbal Concoctions as well, body butters and oils. I can make that hair grow, baby, have a hair growth journey. All right, so if you're interested in that, please contact me as well. But I'm great. I'm just really feeling this topic. Thank you for like having me in terms of talking about Black women and mental health and how mental health is different in Black women. So I just want to appreciate you and just even doing that. And I'll just pass it to you.
Yes, so just to kind of really solidify what's going on here, for the month of March, I decided that as I am a woman and an herbalist, so I'm in the healthcare field, that I would touch on women's health issues. And then this being the final week, I wanted to kind of solidify it with something that is so aligned with my purpose. Like I said, I believe that the body does keep the score, and it keeps the score mentally. I just really wanted to touch on mental health in specific. And then me and you have such aligned purposes in that we are specifically drawn to liberate Black women. And I think that that is basically the crux of this whole conversation, is to just be as honest and forthright with others, women of color and women of all, creeds, but just kind of informing the community of what's going on, because I think that a lot of times women in general carry shame, and we bury and we hide ourselves, and the only kind of cure for that is to expose it, let the truth set you free. And just kind of really liberate the concept of mental health around Black women, because it can be so taboo in our community. And so, hopefully today this conversation will touch someone who feels liberated to maybe tell their story, maybe feels liberated to go seek out help. Hopefully this will, just even open some minds up to maybe do some research. I love it when people just say, oh, I didn't really take anything away from that. Well, you probably remember something that made you look up something later or connected to something later. So even just connecting some dots for people, I find that as a victory. But if you are new to this topic, or if you're interested in this topic, I advise you to get a little notepad out, take some notes. We might say some things that you never heard that you might want to check on later, or it just might stick out to you. I advise you to write it down. Writing things down helps you to memorize them and just solidifies the information within your mind as well. I'll let you kind of speak. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot.
No, this is wonderful. And please be advised that we are not licensed counselors. So this is not medical advice. This is just our stories. And in terms of Black liberation, I just also want to shout out my organization, Life After Release. I am the director of operations there. So I am powering vision and Black liberation of directly impacted women, specifically Black women who are directly impacted. And so even in that work, I'm still in my heart work. I'm still liberation of Black woman, because I believe that we have a different plight. And coming from the movement world, definitely was forced as a Black woman to not have and hold my own space. And we had to compromise with the woman of color, right? A lot of Black initiatives had to open up ranks, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we need our spaces because we have a specific healing and having a racial, gender, and class analysis. And so with that, because we are both women, right? And so second-class citizen, initially in the creation of man, right? Plus Black in terms of the institutional structures, and then class, don't let you be broke, right? 3 different dimensions of the Black.
The ultimate scapegoat.
Yes. And so mental health inherently is going to look different. And so I talk about in terms of the 3 pillars and why mental health looks different in the Black community overall. One, in terms of cultural stigmas, right? And so, coming from family of faith and things of that nature, you're supposed to pray away. You're not really supposed to bring it up. So we're just now even talking about it publicly in this like millennia, all right? 1. And then 2, there's a financial barrier in terms of when you get or need to have mental health services, you need to have insurance, and then you need to have a specialist, and then you need to have a copay when people are just trying to pay their groceries, right?
You also need to have a free enough schedule to take time, the liberty, you know what I mean? The liberty of time to go and do that. The transportation, there's a lot of, you know, factors. Now things are, you know, they've gone online, so that I'm sure has liberated quite a few people. But, you know, even those of us who are not maybe in a crunch necessarily for insurance or that type of help, there's also the workaround of like the friend we were just talking about. She works constantly. When would she have a moment to speak with someone on her own behalf, you know?
Yes. And the part about women, right? Just the inherent sexism in the medical industry against women, while having a uterus is more expensive than having a penis. I don't know the internals of what's in, what, I don't know, prostate, I don't know. Excuse me, not a medical doctor, I gave you that. Again, but having a uterus is like an extra like tax, you know what I mean, bracket. We have a tax on our uterus with these tampons and stuff like that. So we're being punished for our womanhood, you know what I mean? Even though we're the birthers of life, but we're still being inherently punished. In the Black woman, you know, on a record, unless you have a baby in the hospital, baby, it's like, you know, we gotta make sure you came through. Okay, you know what I mean? That's why there's a rise in doulas and things like nature, because we need protectors in the medical industry, you know what I mean? And not just for birth, but other things as well. You know, like, it's so many layers. And so for Black women, we don't have, I ain't named the racism a little bit, you know, we don't even have the privilege to show up as our authentic selves. We're not allowed to be angry. We're shamed. But yes, hell yeah, we need to be angry. We got a lot of shit to be angry about. We're not allowed to be sad. We're not allowed to take breaks. We have to be strong. I hate the strong Black woman narrative. Don't call me no strong Black woman.
I do too. I do too. I really hate that so much. It reminds me so much of the workhorse narrative. It's like, and it's not, maybe backhanded compliment isn't the proper term, but that's kind of how it feels. It's insulting that you see me as just strong. You don't see me as gentle. You don't see me as capable of, feminine, or capable of breaking, capable of being hurt. You just see me as strong. I'm fortified. There's, you know, I'm unbreakable. And it almost is, it's kind of like a dare. When you label me that way, when you label me as strong, it's kind of like, well, what's the breaking point? You know, like, that's, man always wants to know the limits of something. So when you label something as strong, man in general is going to do its best to find the limits of that. And I feel that that's kind of where we are in society with Black women. We have not necessarily intentionally, like I said, made Black women the kind of scapegoats of the world, but honestly, how the you know, the strong Black woman has always been this kind of mammy character that in any culture is respected as this kind of maternal figure, but also disrespected as this, you know, second class person. And it's so confusing that I think Black women deserve to be crazy. Like, if we are, I'd rather you call me a crazy Black woman than a strong Black woman at this point, because at least then there's some humanity in me. There's some fragility. You know what I'm saying? There's some possibility that
reminds me of when we were chattel and women had to give birth, you know, days after and get back on the field, right? And it reminds me of that, but it's perpetuated in different systematic things. And then talking about mammy, I had a colleague in the movement. She used to always say that, and she'll tell white people that all the time. I'm not your mammy, okay? I am not going to clean it up. I'm not going to comfort you. I'm not going to give you the tits, all right? I am not your mammy. And I think we're also having this revolution of wanting to now step in our feminine side, because we deserve to be cared for, to be loved, because we are worthy. You know what I mean? We are as worthy, you know, as our counterparts or whatever, but we are worthy. And so we deserve to sit in that and not have to take the tit out and comfort something, right? Whether it's comforting, you know, our families, our bosses, you know what I mean? Capitalism, whatever, however you want to interpret that. But I think we're starting to take a stand But the thing is, it looks different on us, right?
Mhm.
Mental health, because we don't have the privilege to break down, we may not, be physically crying, but
Yeah.
you may have chronic pain, chronic back pain. I've had back pain for about 22 years. All right. I was working at 50 years old. All right.
Mhm.
Okay. Chronic back pain. It can look like irritation, irritability, right? It can look like not being able to focus. And I know you got a long list here, but it looks different in Black women in the sense of we have to keep on moving, And so you have to be very mindful of yourself. If you seem like and you feel like you're off, you might be off and it's all right. You know what I mean? Go in, and if you don't have health insurance, we also have, Affordable Health Care Act, so you can go through there. But if you don't have that, there's like groups, there's community holds space, so you got like the church community. You also have like the support groups. There's all types of support groups. They're lined up. Just Google what you need. There's a support group, and that's free, baby, because of the seasons I do the group setting. All right, but you need to be in community with people that's supporting and helping you through your wellness.
I think that's so important. You've been and also our other friend has been kind of hinting at that. She shares a lot of, or receives a lot of like knowledge, especially like maternal stuff. She has a lot of like Facebook groups she's in. And so I was like, oh, you're always in groups. But now I'm realizing there's a lot more to the gambit of groups that are available than what we might typically think. Just the other day we were talking about a colorism issue, and you told me to go look up colorism groups, and I did, and there's a bunch of them. And so there's so many niches. You never know where you would find support and alignment. And I think groups is an excellent place to start, because it gives you a fresh pool of like-minded people to kind of reach for that support. But I want to also say that some of the signs of mental health, maybe even being unstructured, are kind of coming undone or untethered. They don't always even look like necessarily pain symptoms. One of the things that I'm learning about the concept of CPTSD, which is complex PTSD, or childhood PTSD, as the term is kind of being worked together in the psychology. Just briefly touch on that. Complex PTSD is very similar to PTSD, other than the fact that you cannot identify maybe one specific instance of where it started. So that's why sometimes they say these patterns maybe start in childhood, and they develop and grow into patternings that exasperate them in your adult life. But one of the patterns, and basically all of these are kind of trauma responses, is having too much on your plate, not being able to share, being withdrawn. These are things that we see as strength characteristics. Again, here we go, that strong workhorse, right? Oh, she's strong. She carries everything. She's doing it. She's got it all. She's doing it. She's so strong. She's got it. Like, these are trauma responses. These are things that have developed because we had nowhere to go. We had no one to rely on. We have no safe space. And, taking account of those times too, when you feel that you have something pressing within you, but you're not able to express it. Taking note of, I want to call them like the reverse symptoms as well. And again, finding community, finding a safe space will help you kind of take that weight off your shoulders. Sorry, but yeah, definitely these reverse symptoms are a factor as well.
Thank you for raising that. And thank you for talking about childhood PTSD, because a lot of us have that, right? Even undiagnosed, right? Just us living. We made it through something, you know what I mean? Whether it was through, family situations or even relationships, you know what I mean? Trauma can come in different types of ways. And we're going to come back about that relationship.
Yeah.
But, thank you for sharing that. It can also look like the strong Black woman in the sense of, I've been, and I know women, and I'm in community with women, right, who never take a day off. But I try to work with them in the sense of release it. You know what I mean? you know, you taking that day, and I understand there's privilege. They may not be able to take a week vacation or a 2-week vacation, you know, may just be a day, but there's so much shame in letting go. And I've been there as well. And I'm still on that journey. I need to let go some more. Okay. There's so much shame of thinking that if I let go, everything will collapse. You know what I mean? But honey, you are worthy. In the meditation that we listened to in the beginning, she has a line that states, you know, she goes to the arms and she says, you know, you carry a lot, but she says you're worthy to let it go and be held. Okay. Mm-hmm. You know, when you are worthy to let it go and be held. And that is part of the healing and part of the journey of going back to the femininity and going back to the worthiness and the self-love journey of saying, I don't have to be the one that holds it up. Okay. All right.
I think, do they also say thank your arms for being able to pick things up and put things down? Does it say that also? Yeah. I like that.
You can put it down. And so we have to be mindful. And I would get mad at people, like when I would do 100 million things, I would do these 100 million things out of like this like really was a fear or insecurity. Like I had to like be the superwoman to be worthy, right? My worthiness was connected to what I did. So I did everything because I was taught that inherently through family and things of that nature, you know, indirectly, right? And so, you know, with that, I would get mad because I'd be losing my whole mind, insomnia and whatever, in terms of not getting enough rest and being stressed, and my body is inflamed. I would have eczema. My body is an indicator of, like you named your body in the wellness work, your body is an indicator as well. I believe a lot in the body, right? So I will I'll get eczema when my life is inflamed, either inflamed by food, inflamed by stress, inflamed by like a sleep, like something is like, you know, aggravating my temple, right? So the eczema, then I'll get moody, and then I'll get angry at people, like, you know, snapping at them. They're like, well, nobody tell you to sign up for all this shit.
And that's what I was going to say. Resentment is there as well. That's part of the, you know, the buildup of emotion. You're resenting others for not sharing in the burden that you, I wouldn't say assigned yourself, but you feel pressured to carry. And so you're carrying resentment also. And then also, I want to say the eczema, you mentioned that the food inflames it, but you're the one who gave me that really good line about what are you eating? The food is inflamed by your mood as well. So, you know, it's like a stair step to, you know, down health, you know, like we're walking down this ladder of our health through just trying to, you know, juggle all of the roles that we're labeled with. And it's extremely unfair. I want to read off some of the symptoms that can also be kind of dismissed, but are indicators of even diagnosable mental health disorders, not just stress, which is not necessarily a disorder in itself, but it is, you know, it is kind of the determining factor, if you ask me, for the trajectory of someone's mental health. I always mention ADHD first because so many people have that. Complex PTSD, I think, often gets misdiagnosed for ADHD. And so I mention that one a lot because our generation has high bouts of that. And I think, you know, most people nowadays, just by the technology influence, right? We have just 10 tabs open. Too much stimuli, right? So we are naturally, and also we can go off on a tangent about that one day. The school, the educational system, the structure of it is also conducive to creating ADHD, and we can kind of delve into that another day. But yeah, so I talk about that, but these symptoms are also prevalent for women who have like bipolar or any sort of other like you know, personality disorders.
Call it mood swings. Baby got mood swings in the community.
And so yes, women get, you know, our stuff gets very much minimized because our symptoms can be camouflaged, right? Our expressions are not necessarily as outward. So males with ADHD can express hyperactivity. They are prone to fits of rage, right? They have very kind of...
Yes, repeat that, fits of rage, honey. Go ahead. That's another topic.
There's like a whole kind of, you know, the DSM gives you these really specific flagrant you know, hyperactive symptoms that women don't necessarily present. And so I'm gonna just go ahead and say some of them that are here. So women can appear withdrawn. So, you know, prone to daydreaming, prone to, you know, just maybe sitting quietly, not focusing on the conversation, but just being withdrawn within themselves. That's definitely one of them. Being this is one that gets called sensitive, but cries easily, so easily triggered to cry. And again, this is why I say ADHD and complex PTSD are so closely tied, because a lot of these are also tied to CPTSD too. So if you hear me stating some of these symptoms and you're like, I check all these boxes, I would advise you to look into them both.
I check all these boxes. I don't check all these boxes, but I'm
no.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah. And so, yeah, definitely overly daydreaming, being disorganized and messy. And this is one I find so funny, because I feel like women in general from eons ago have had this kind of like battle between, you know, the disarray of like getting ready and having a, you know, a tizzy to get, you know, dressed for the ball, like all these kind of things. That's just creative what we are.
Sporadic.
Yes, and women carry creative energy. We are the creatrix of the universe. You know what I'm saying? So we create all these beings that are here. So, you know, being disorganized and messy can kind of be just kind of dismissed. Being easily distracted, easily upset, being very forgetful. These are all, again, bipolar, all of these mood disorders, as well as neurodivergent topics as well. The one you said about back pain, which I find so funny, because as I'm coming into my late life, I'm starting to realize that I believe I have some type of cycle-related mood disorder, and they're now in medicine discovering that that's actually a thing. But then also sleeping and fatigue problems, which a lot of people may or may not know as a common mental health issue. And then being hyper talkative, which I obviously have, but that is also another sign. So like oversharing, or, you know, even maybe not even oversharing, but just having to maybe dominate the conversation, or just all of these kind of things that are kind of dismissed as ditzy women things. These are things that have roots in mental instability or mental offness, you know?
Yeah, and I think we should also add in the bio just a link to support, so some support system.
Definitely.
Because if you're like us and you're checking these boxes, you know, we want you to go to therapy. We want you, you know, to start your journey, your wellness journey. And your wellness journey looks different for everyone. It may be, you know, medication. It may be treating, you know, your whole entire self as well, in terms of like food and things like nature. My wellness journey has been connected with food. Always. I started to lose weight when I started to address my emotions. My emotions got in the way with the weight loss journey. And so like your emotions and all of that and whatever, you know, what resonates with you with this conversation, you know, please check out our resources, and there are other resources, you know, to get you some support. But I really appreciate you, you know, sharing just the, you know, the list.
I want to add to that list really quickly, because especially what you just said. I thought about it and then you said it, so I have to add it in. Eating disorders of any kind, either under eating, overeating, monitoring, over exercising, all of these kind of, you know, societal pressures that we internalized and created unnatural patterns around our eating and our exercising. All of those can kind of fit into that gambit. Yeah, those obsession type of things can fit into the gambit of the list as well, because that, you know, it totally kind of gets brushed off a lot as its own separate category, but it falls directly in line typically with other mental offness, I guess is the best word to say it.
Yes, and that's okay. You know, we smile, but we don't take light. We smile in our own journey and our own beauty of our journeys, right? And speaking about our own journeys, I would love to hear, and I'll share as well, how do we, get through our mental health journey, right? And again, we are, not medical providers. We're just only sharing our story.
Yes, please.
Again, disclaimer. So story time. Mental
I like that.
is very important to me. I've seen it in my family, particularly in my mother. I was a young child with a mama with mental health issues, and we didn't have any of the names. I had to go through the journey of discovering it myself. Wasn't openly discussed, you know what I mean? So it created inherently mental health issues for me. And so that has even liberated more of like the liberation for Black women is also liberation for my damn self, right? And my lineage, my daughter and her daughters and her or sons or whatever, you know what I mean? And our bloodline. I want the generational curse to stop. So number one for me that has helped me is my spiritual well-being. I talked about my wellness, but my wellness is complex. My wellness has a spiritual side. So I love that is number one. So that looks like, my prayers, my faith. I'm, team Holy Spirit, but I also, respect my ancestors and things of that nature, give homage, but at the same time, making sure I'm honoring myself, in terms of like my body, my life, making sure I'm not, having people in my life that's going to trigger certain things. So like being accountable, even though I'm a creative, and I could be forgetful and whimsical. Okay. Also working on the journey of discipline. I'm on that journey, discipline and accountability. Woo! All right. And being in a constant practice. And then I love my therapist. I see my therapist every 2 weeks. Okay. Shout out G5 counseling. All right. I've been seeing this particular one for 3 years. She has outlasted my marriage. Okay. Girl, she's seen it all.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And before her, I used to shop around, and feel free to shop around because your provider, you're paying for that service, whether you pay for it out of pocket or your insurance, or even if it's, state insurance, it's being paid for and you are a consumer. So with that said, if you're not feeling them, shop around, baby. All right. Don't ever feel beholden, because I hear a lot of horror stories. I seen a therapist, that therapist was whack. All right. Okay. I feel that, right? You don't have to ever see them again, but there's others, and you can find people who resonate with you. My therapist is a Black woman business owner. She's also kind of coachy too. So, you know what I mean? Find what resonates with you, but get on that journey. And I think that journey, and whatever it looks like, I know I have to eat a certain way. I have to work out. I have to sit in the sun. Like I have a whole protocol. I see an acupuncturist, you know what I mean? So it looks different for everyone. Some people, they have to be on a medical regimen, and that's fine. You know what I mean? But whatever your journey is, get on your journey to wellness. I want to hear, how are you, what's your journey in terms of, navigating mental health in your life?
Yeah, I really like that thing, the quote that you said, my wellness is complex, because that is so true. I think the year before we would take our little walks around the neighborhood, and you told me that you spent like a year healing yourself in the sun. And I thought that was so amazing, because it took me back to when I was a little thing back in college in Miami, and how I would literally, the beach was my healing space. And everyone goes to the beach and it's nice and it's fun, but for me, that's actually where I go to meditate in my mind. I can easily just be taken away by the whooshing sound. It's like the womb, I guess, for me. I don't know, but
most
really
of us are West African by the slave trade, our DNA, and West Africa is on the coast. Right. You know what I mean? And even if you got, I'm a little mixed thing too, parts of Europe is on the coast. We are water. I think humanity, and I just
in general, we do feign towards the water. Yeah. Yeah. And then I'm an island ting as well. So like for me, you know.
What's up, baby? Yeah.
Yeah, so like it really is, it's like a zen, it's my zen, you know. So finding things like, because okay, let me just take it back. Before we kind of had that conversation about like healing yourself in the sun and like what worked for you, I was kind of following the modern typical ways of, you need to meditate, you need to do this, you need to do that, and trying to do that. I was smoking a lot of weed, I was drinking a lot of liquor, you know, trying to
medication. So that's also a sign of mental health issues, the reliance of substances, because it is medicating, and it's a self-medicating, but you want to learn, and we want to relearn how to medicate in more of a healthy way. And sometimes you gotta observe yourself, like, I've been shopping a lot, I've been partying a lot, like something is wrong. Like you have to be in tune with yourself enough or have enough discernment, you know, maybe pray for that, you know, maybe you meditate and breathe for that, right? You have to be enough in alignment to say like something is wrong, or have community around you where you can have other people and be humble to listen, okay, to the ear. When people say, you know, out of love, you're off. Out of love, out of love, you're slipping. You know what I mean? Go down and get help.
Yeah. Now that community part, I will tell you, that's a very deep one. That's, I guess, kind of where I am now. I'm reworking my community to have people around me that will tell me stuff like that out of love. Like I was in a space where I guess, you know, through being a people pleaser or whatever my journey was, I didn't have people around me who were real enough to say anything. Like you say, like, hey, you're shopping a lot. That should also be on the list. Like, what is it? Impulse control, I guess, would be, you know, also on the list. But, you know, things like that, I had to, you know, recognize in myself and, you know, curtail and be strong, like you say, and figure out on my own. But, you know, now where I am, I guess I've gone through the I guess, policing of myself and recognizing my patterns. And so now I'm in a space of recognizing patterns.
Policing, I would say hold yourself accountable. You know what I mean? Like this accountability. Okay. I don't want to feel like it's like harmful, causing harm. You know, if you're doing out of love, you're doing it not to shame yourself. I'm not saying shame, but I'm saying to look at yourself in a lens of love, of like, you know, I have a desire to be a higher version of myself, and what I'm walking in or acting out of is not that higher version of myself. So what I need to do, what I need to get the real resource and to help move me there. And that's a
right. Maybe I shouldn't say policing. Maybe parenting myself is a better word than because policing has not a good connotation nowadays. But
I want to protect myself, you know, out of love.
Out of love, right. Okay, so parenting myself is what I'll call it. And it's like you say, really for me, because I haven't had the great experience you've had with counselors. For me, it's been finding community and doing the research and parenting myself, reparenting myself, I should say, because like I said, I realized a lot of the, and I guess this would be everybody, a lot of the issues that I was carrying came from beliefs from childhood, or came from things that I was programmed with in childhood. So going back and reworking those thought patterns and, you know, figuring out how they're affecting the here and the now, that's kind of where I am personally. But when I would say things have gotten, or now I'll say when things get to a point or to a head where I'm like, this is not good, right? Like something's not right. I will say, I will give myself grace. Like that's the season I'm in now, is to give myself grace. Like I'll use my cycle as an example. In my youth, I resented cycles, I resented periods. For me, it was a moment I couldn't be a thought, you know, I couldn't go out, I couldn't wear what I want. Like it was just, it was in the way, right? Like,
and also society makes you shame your cycle, even though our cycle gives life. I didn't learn to love my body until I became a mother, and I realized how fucking amazing women and just not just women, but women X, but just the birthing process is, right? And as a Black woman, how I've created this beautiful being and survived, okay?
Yeah,
I don't know about birth, but I'm like, I survived that. Hell no, you're not going to shame me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we're conditioned to hate an essential part of our bodies. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, seriously, no, we definitely are, like from a young age. And then even the kind of like courting period where you're like, you know, dating, you know, getting to know people, and then it's like, oh, you're on your cycle, and a guy might not talk to you for the week, like, you know, stuff like that in their immaturity I see now, you know what I'm saying? But stuff like that kind of programs you to disallow, you know, what is happening to you. And in that, again, the body keeps a score. That resentment I was building up towards myself created a space for me to have horrible cramps, horrible periods. I was irregular. I was like, my cycle was terrible. Even after having my child, I think for a while after my daughter, I was even more afraid of my periods, because I was just like, this whole thing is just annoying. I don't know. And then I started to say, well, you know what? I don't want to be pregnant again. And then I started to learn, you know, that this is my relief from that kind of anxiety. And so I would start to look at it that way. But really, it was Abraham Hicks. I was listening to her, and how she was talking to someone about something totally else, about, you know, reprogramming yourself to appreciate something that you don't appreciate. And I kind of took that mentality with my cycle and started to look in gratitude at all of the beneficial things that it does provide. It's a reprieve for my body. It's a cleansing. It's a detoxing that my body naturally does. So I don't have to go and buy dishes and yoni pearls. Like, my body's going to do that for me if I will just allow it.
Especially if your body is in alignment, and you can get your body in alignment. You can heal your body.
And it's a moment of healing. It is exactly a moment of releasing. And one of the things that used to really bug me too is the emotional flare-ups that I would get. I would get PMS to the core. Like I said, I even think that I have some type of hormonal imbalance surrounding my period. But the way that I really actually control that is by allowing it. Someone told me that your PMS is actually all of the passive aggressive things that you had allowed throughout the month, all of the things that you allowed to kind of roll off of your shoulders, all of the things you didn't say coming out in that moment. Like, you get fed up, you don't have it within you to hold back because your body's going through this other major change. So you let it all out, and allowing that to just be like, now say, you know what, it might not come out how I want to, but it had to be said. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you probably have a womb healing segment about
healing. Yeah, that would be cool.
Which is
that would be really cool. Yeah.
And
yeah.
There are you know, womb healers out there. And I'm forgetting one. She's the author of The Sacred Woman. You know her.
Yes, I can't think of her name right now. I love her. Queen
Afua.
Yes.
Queen Afua, one of the originals. All right, one of the OGs.
She's good.
Women healing, right? So she dives deep, and you can do some resources on that. But basically, the issues of your womb is connected to your emotions, right? And so a lot of like health issues, and of course there's medical reasons, and also, you know, health reasons, but a lot of it is also emotions, because you can store trauma in your uterus, right? Because we're the cultivators and creators, so we can create dysfunction in our health, and our bodies are also tellers, right? Of our dysfunction, dis-ease, right? And so your disease is a dis-ease into your body, right? Yes. I think that was like, you know, Sabi or Dada or somebody, I don't know, but I'm trying to.
A lot of people said it, Florence Scovel. A lot of people have kind of coined that one, but it's
trying to give our credit to y'all, you know.
Yes.
But you know, I think all of it is just like signs of like Black women's mental health again, right? We also have the complexities, you know, of our womb, and even if you don't have a womb, you know what I mean? Like, there's complexities around that, you know what I'm saying? That is all connected in our wellness and our emotions and how
our emotional body. Yep. The emotional body is very, very real. And I think, for years, like I said, I suffered through all these symptoms of PMS and things, and I was suffering actually really horribly at the time that I started to do this work on my womb with endometriosis symptoms. I don't suffer from that at all now, because when my cycle comes, I put my feet up, I'm like, and I follow the cycle of my body so much more. The day before my cycle, I turn into a cleaning banshee. Like, I get insanely tidy, and I'm like, everybody move. I'm bleaching everything. Like, everything has to be immaculate. And then the next day I'm like, I'm not moving for a week and a half. Don't talk to me. Like, it is what it is. It's as clean as it's going to be. You know what I mean? Like, and it's so funny, the vacillations, I just roll with it, and it makes my life peaceful because I've cleaned, I'm good. I can, kick back. I know things are taken care of. It's just following, I think my flow is kind of what has allowed me to even step into the space to have healing and learn about mental health.
And praise God for your healing for your endometriosis. That's a miracle. A lot of women are going through that and suffering through that as we speak.
It's horrible too, yeah.
And I'm, again, I'm not a provider. These are stories, and the stories of my sisters, okay? And I hear stories of my sisters, I'm not calling them in, their names, but just the stories of, how they just want to like take your fucking uterus out. Like, they don't even really want to give you all the other like remedies. There's other, like, you don't have to go right into the surgery table. You can change your diet. Dairy, sugar, my acupuncturist went to school for this. Dairy and sugar, chocolate, all this stuff we crave, meat inflames our body. And because our uterus is an organ, it can be inflamed as well. So it's other things as well. So before you go, into surgery, unless it's the very last thing you have to do, think about some other measures. You know what I mean? Think about other measures of healing, even weight loss, can help your uterus, can help your period, can help pregnancy, and things of that nature. So like, there's other things out there. Again, I'm not a provider. I'm just sharing my story and the story of my sisters. But I thank you for having me to talk about this. I want to come back because we have a lot to talk about.
We do. We could make a series out of this topic, honestly. And yeah, I want to expand upon it. I think we've both done this. We both had seasons of veganism. I think that has highly contributed, just based on those simple factors of, allowing the body a respite from these kind of toxic treats. And
skincare products.
Yeah. Well, I'm very, giving your body the chance to really detox. And I find that is a major part of it. And it's, we think about detoxing as like drinking smoothies and getting the junk out of our colon, but there's other organs. The uterus is a very, a well, it's a cauldron. So it's holding a lot already. So to cleanse that is important. And then the mind, there's a detox that has to happen there too. I think we are coming into the season in the world where people are capable of talking about, detoxing from social media, giving yourself a mental respite from television. These sort of things are starting to become more talked about. I would love to, go on for hours about the many workarounds for cleansing yourself and dissolving kind of some of these issues, and then maybe even go into the space of what healing looks like for each of us. But we can maybe do that on another time. We can reschedule a time for me. We can kind of make a little mini series
We're
out of this.
Come back. You're gonna have us again, y'all. You're gonna have us again. We have a lot because it's just mental health is layers, right? So we're just informing everyone on what it looks like, how it looks differently, maybe providing resources, but we'll dive deep at a later time on what that looks like and in terms of all the topics and even how to buffer your life to not
I like that too.
Be thrown in the wolves, because sometimes we throw ourselves in the wolves and then we like, why are we tripping? Well, baby, you've been dancing with the wolves. Okay, get your ass back in the house.
Yeah.
All right. So, it's a holistic look at it, right? In terms of being accountable in our lives, in terms of our wellness journey, and then the complexities of being a Black woman, it's a lot. It's a lot, but we're going to come back. So I appreciate you.
I do. I love this. I love that we have this space. Yeah, and I think that, you know, hopefully this is being received well by you guys out there, and that, you know, you're able to find some, not just relief, but maybe, you know, connection and understanding between, you know, the stories that we're sharing. That's not really the word I'm looking for. The word I'm looking for is, it's not coming to me, but you know, I just hope that you see maybe yourself a little bit in what we're sharing, and that is, you know, allowing you this space to feel liberated enough to take action in your life, to know that, you know, wellness is complex. Your wellness doesn't look like my wellness, right? And your personal wellness out there may be a totally different path, and hopefully you'll come back and join us again as we kind of, you know, lay out what that path looks like for each of us. Again, I would like to say that, you know, my product line is focused on mood boosting. So if you are struggling, I want you to check out the resources that we leave below. Also check out my site, thebrightblend.com. There is a full gambit of things. Most namely, I'll plug my Happy Blend tea, since we're talking about mental health. That is like my flagship product. And it is an anti-anxiety tea. It helps with focus, it helps with mood, and it is really a calming and relaxing tea. It can be had any time of day. It doesn't stimulate or depress you. And so it's kind of been the flagship kind of product that I run with, but everything we do, either aromatically or herbally, is going to boost your mood. And I'll kind of let you speak on Wake Them Up a little bit one more time before we get out of here.
So if you ever want to do any trainings about different topics about wellness, also I do technical training in terms of my movement work, in terms of political education, you know, as I work with Black women, directly impacted Black women, and political strategy and things of that nature. Your movement, whatever your dream is, I can help you get you there. Please contact wakethemupllc@gmail.com for schedule a consultation. And we will be out. You know, we'll come back in terms of herbal concoctions. Please check us out. You know, that is a TBA, you know. But mommy, you know, we're doing movements. We got, you know, this year is a campaign year. So, you know, we are moving some things in the movement, because liberation is not just body wellness, is the liberation for our people. So we out there too. But I just appreciate it. And I'm just so looking forward to, like, you know, contributing with you in this space. And I just give honor to you, and I appreciate you for just allowing this space. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been always fun talking to you. We always have a good time. And